I'll check in some of the questions that you may have on our text line as well, and I'll flash that on the screen. Weather Impact Meteorologist Gary Frank hanging out. First and foremost, I'll answer your questions about the snow and kind of bring you some updates on maybe some of the changes and really just some of the key messaging points ahead of our system that's arriving this week. Right now, the rest of the weekend is fine. Obviously, everybody's watching the Super Bowl tomorrow. It's going to be quiet. I'll throw that chat line on here for you in a second, and you can kind of see what's happening there. 314-425-5355. That is our text line. If you guys want to figure that out, I can give you some updates on that. But like I said, we'll talk about what's happening here in the short term as we've got some decent weather that's headed our way, and I'll kind of keep you posted with that. But like I said, right now it's quiet as you look at the big picture. We're still looking at temperatures that are, we're going to see clouds clear out pretty quickly. So I'll go through my whole spiel, and then if you guys have questions, we can talk about it, but I'll just kind of breeze through this weekend. Mid-20s now, 30s behind it for the most part, and it's not all that bad. But when you look to the south, I mean, it's a pretty good cold front that has settled in. And for tomorrow, there's no issue. Honestly, it's the easiest day for you guys to just stay inside, myself included, and watch the game and then be done with it. But as we get back to work, I think Monday's fine. It's after that, that's our weather impact alert days. And those are the things that I want to talk about with the most significance here when it comes to what we're dealing with. Right now, the three things that I want to talk about specifically in terms of our weather impact alert days are the fact that Tuesday and Wednesday are the 2 days that I think are going to have some sort of measurable precipitation. It's a matter of what we deal with. And this is the main thing that I want to talk about is the fact that this is 2 storms that we're talking about. This is not one big storm system, nor will we have the same type of impacts that we had from the last one, because that was just a consistent battering of snow and ice and cold weather and wind. We don't have that this time, but we are going to see 2 systems. One that's a little more minor, I think, on Tuesday, but I think due to the timing of the rush hour, probably will create some issues. But I think as you look into Wednesday, I think that's going to be more of a problem. So that's what I really want to message here and talk about this, because I don't want you to get to Tuesday and say, oh, this is not that bad. It may not be, but I'll talk about why that is. Our first storm system, as I put this here, and you can kind of see me playing around with this a little bit. What I want to point out is the fact that we have this system here, and we've talked about this one. You'll notice where it's producing a little bit of mountain snow and rain here in Pacific Northwest. That's what's going to be dipping down and kind of working its way into the general zonal flow that we have from west to east, and you'll see that here specifically, even though it doesn't want to draw that for me. That's where it's headed, and it's this system here that is going to be working its way down. You'll see this here. It's gradually working its way south, and it'll enter the jet stream that's kind of set up for us here specifically, and that's what we're going to be dealing with. Behind it, we've got more things that are going to be causing an issue, and you'll see more of these storm systems here that are kind of talking about that over the next several things. Susie said there's no sound. I'm not sure that it's not on my end, because I can just turn it up to make sure I can hear myself. So thanks for that update there, Susie. And what we're dealing with here behind this, we've got more storm systems behind this, right? We see this series of Pacific systems, and as it works its way into this essential conveyor belt, it is going to bring us opportunities for storms. And that's what we're going to see. 2 separate storms, one more potent than the other at this point. So I want to fast forward all the way through Sunday, because we just talked about it. It's not that big of a deal. Sunday's fine. Monday's fine as well. It's going to be cold, and you'll start off that way. But let's get to, let's pause it at 3:30, because that's what this particular model wants to show you. Because look at where the snow is developing through the region, and just take it face value. I know I zoomed out, so it's going to look a little weird with the things, but look at this storm system as a whole, and just ignoring the tightly bunched numbers that I have together, because I like to do this on the fly. You'll notice that, even as I show you this here, and I'll pop this on a full screen here, even as I show you this here, this system does not look all that impressive, does it? And to me, it doesn't, right? Because it's not. but it's enough to where I think we're going to see snow that works its way in throughout the rest of the day. It's going to take a minute, but watch how this changes a little bit, right? As it gets closer to us, that's when we're going to see that more impactful snow, and most of us are just getting snow at this point, and I'll zoom back in so you can see, you know, just a little bit more about why those are all, temperature-wise, we're all pushed together, right? So that's set up that way, but look at where this is. This is after midnight. We're going to see the potential for that snow. And you'll notice one of the things that I want to point out is that the last snow, we had these temperatures that were in the 20s. They were much colder, mid-20s. This snow stuck right away, and that's where it got really slow. This is Tuesday morning at midnight, and even after midnight, as I scroll a little further, do our temperatures really drop all that much? They don't. And I think that's going to be a key difference for Tuesday specifically, is the fact that, yeah, it may be below freezing and around freezing, but the ground is relatively warm, and at least at this point, so there will be some melting going on. I'm not saying it won't be overcome, but during the time where we're going to see this snow, it's going to be during the rush hour, so I think there'll be some slick spots. Is the snow going to be compact on the ground? Is it refreeze on some of the elevated surfaces? Sure, but this is not going to look like what it did weeks ago, at least for Tuesday. Right? So let's pause and just talk about, let me get through this point here, and I'll put this back on the full screen so you can see, where you'll notice that as we get throughout the rest of the day, temperatures actually going up, and we may see another round of snow, but I still think with temperatures going up, I think that the rest of the day, you'll notice that we're in the mid-30s here. I think we get to about 36 or 37 for a high, maybe even warmer in some cases, but that's going to make Tuesday evening and afternoon much, much better. So if you're watching this, and you've got travel plans on Tuesday, I think it's okay. I don't think you're going to worry too much about Tuesday being a day where the kids are home from school. It's not out of the question. We don't make those decisions, nor do we do that for the airlines. But I'm trying to pinpoint days and times for your travel and talk about that specifically. So let's look at what just the snow potential for Tuesday is at a face value here. And I'll put this on a full screen because I know it's a little harder to see. I think up to an inch is possible. There may be some spots to the south as we pause Tuesday morning that could see 2 inches on the high side. But if you look at just snow probabilities from a St. Louis standpoint, you'll notice I don't have anything crazy here. I mean, you're talking about a 31% chance that we'll see an inch or more in St. Louis, and only about a 10% chance that we'll see 2 inches in St. Louis for Tuesday. Tuesday only. Point that out, circle that. I'm going to put that up. That is Tuesday only. This is for Tuesday because I want to talk about this in terms of two separate storms. Tuesday being the first one. Tuesday is the least impactful day that we have when you compare the two. I still think there are going to be some issues because we are going to have that potential for snow. But what I want to talk about here now is the second one. And there are two storms, and I want to show you what Futurecast looks like as we work our way in. And this is just one of them that I've picked, right? So as I put this one back on, in case you guys have questions, because I'll get to the point where I'll answer them as well. Here's what we get through Tuesday night into Wednesday, and watch Wednesday throughout the day. Watch this band of snow that sets up in the region by Wednesday night, right? And this is just one particular model. But when you talk about what's happening through the region, look at this snow that's set up on I-70 Tuesday or Wednesday, even in the evening. But what is not necessarily concerning, but what is going to throw a wrench in is I've started to see over the last couple of runs of some of these models where we're starting to see maybe a finger of warmer air that settles into our region, maybe a little further north. If you were with us yesterday or the day before, we were talking about how I thought that this was trending more towards snow at that point, but that has sort of backed off a little bit and started to nudge that warmer air north. This means that the sleet, the freezing rain that cuts into the snowfall totals. So if you want me to provide you with a snowfall map, that's why I'm holding off on that just a little bit. But I want to talk about why we have that is because I'll just use two particular models in our system, and I'll label them as Model 1 and Model 2, and I'll put this on a full screen and compare it at a similar time. Let's look at model number 1 and show you what this one looks like, right? And this is at 3 o'clock. Notice how, as I kind of zoom in, once we get past this thing wants to play for a while, as I zoom in, watch where this is, right? We have snow out to the north. Half of our area is snow, and half of the area is in that mix here at this point. This is model number 1. Let's look at model number 2 at that same time frame. We're starting to see maybe some symmetry that there is going to be a line of a mix somewhere in this area with less snow, right? So there are differences and similarities between the two. And the key, I think, for us is the fact that it is going to be the cold air, I think, will take a second to get here. As I show you this different version of Futurecast, watch what happens here on Wednesday. This is pretty much with the same model data, but watch what this looks like here. Our temperatures are no doubt colder as I zoom in just a little bit for Wednesday on that same time. Our temperatures are no doubt colder, and areas off to the west are in the teens. That's a setup that we had last time where we had colder air, but at this point, maybe we're starting to see that mix in here where we have that potential for sleet and freezing rain. Where does that set up? And with temperatures in the 20s here, Springfield, we're starting to see that. I think it's not out of the question that that's going to be something that we have to look out for. So not necessarily some big ice storm or sleet maker, but it's not out of the question. So there will be impacts for this. And so that's where I think we're going to see our biggest issues. So when we talk about this from a Tuesday, Wednesday perspective, these are the two things that I want to talk about specifically and kind of bring you up to speed. We have 2 storm chances with slick conditions possible and probably expected, right? At the very bare minimum, that's what we're dealing with Tuesday and Wednesday. These are 2 separate storms, one being Tuesday, like I just said, and the second one being Wednesday. That's the one I think is going to be more of a pain. Light snow is expected Tuesday morning. That's our impact there. I think we have more problems Wednesday, slick spots, side roads, things of that nature. Wednesday's the day I think that's going to be more of a pain for you when it comes to something like that. Now, prepare for something to shovel. Either way, there's going to be something to shovel. It may not be on Tuesday, but by Wednesday, as we start to see more of that and more consistently and colder, there's going to be something at the very least that gets us to that 2 to 3 inch time frame, whatever it may be, whether or not it's that frozen precipitation or not. Now, Wednesday's system is more of an issue. Like I said, I can't stress that enough. That is more of an issue for us simply because we add this little freezing rain, maybe sleet component, depending on how it all sets up, or snow, or all the above, and that typically is more of a mess for us. And of course, from a pre-treated road standpoint and all that, that's where it gets a little bit more issue. So those are the things that I'm looking at here, and I'll show you the 10-day forecast. And then I'll answer your questions, and I'll try to look at any questions you guys may have in terms of what we have with that. So our 10-day forecast here, from a weather impact standpoint, Tuesday and Wednesday, those are our days that I think, and I'll move that over for you here on the fly, simply because I do think that we're going to have our biggest issue on Tuesday, on Wednesday probably. But we have that light snow, like I said, because it's in the morning. I think on Tuesday specifically, that is going to be more of a problem than Wednesdays. We'll just move that over on the fly. That's how we do things on these. It's always fun. It's always good. We try to make sure we're dialed in. But snow and a mix on Wednesday, that's the day that I think is probably going to be the most cumbersome in terms of travel, driving, flights, delayed, things like that. So as temperatures tend to be colder. Now, I do think that as we get closer to the weekend, we'll see those changes. But, those are the main things that I want to talk about here, Tuesday and Wednesday, specifically on Wednesday. Now I'm going to look at some of your questions and try to answer some of them here on the fly while we're sitting here. And I'll pull this Futurecast back up, and I'll scroll all the way back up to Tuesday morning and just kind of show you things. So let's look at a couple of things. Thanks for the updates there. Bree asked how many inches we're supposed to get. I think let's talk about Tuesday specifically, because I really think this potentially for Tuesday is very light, right? This is going to be up to an inch for most of us just on Tuesday, because then the second storm has more moisture with it, but I also think it's a little more warm air, so we may not be getting as much snow with that. So as that starts to bring the sleet and freezing rain component, we're maybe not talking about inches in terms of that, because I want to talk about when that changes over, and I still think those things are in doubt at this moment. Rochelle said she'd rather have snow than ice, of course, and she said, I've heard there are 3 more storms behind these. There's always going to be storms behind the next ones, but we don't know where they're going to be, and I don't see any reason to believe that there are anybody that's told you there are going to be storms behind this doesn't know. They're not ready for this. We don't know that yet. These storms that are behind it are all the way in the Pacific, and things change. And I've watched this particular system change once or twice here over the last 48 hours. So that's why we don't have a snowfall map yet for Wednesday, because I just don't think that we're at that point where we're trying to figure out snow. I think we're going to try to trend toward sleet and freezing rain, and that's what I'm looking at here. So Bill says, don't trust this guy since he interrupted a golf major too long. Well, Bill, for one, you've talked to my good friend Greg. He has to, that's called the Valero Texas Open. So that's an update there. Two, I didn't update any major. That's the Valero Texas Open, and if the Valero Texas Open is a major for you, then you must be from San Antonio. Let's see. Is sleet better than snow? Laura asks. That's a good question. Let me show you. Let me go into my archives here and pull some things up so I can show you why this may be difficult. And just kind of as a refresher course here, I will, let me do that for you. That's a good question here. I think sleet is probably not better than snow, but it also makes the traction a little bit more difficult here when we talk about how all this stuff is put together. I know I've got this graphic in here because I had to use it a bunch last time here. So let me find where that thing is. When it comes to how this stuff is formed, because it all has to do with a warm layer of air. Here it is. I got it for you. So, obviously the number one thing for us is, we see this one is rain. And, that's when we know, like when there's warm air, everything starts out, at least at this time of the year, as snow. But when we get to the point where we're starting to add a thin layer of below 32 degrees at the surface or on the surface, and then there's a warm layer of air that rides in between it, that's where it melts and then refreezes on contact. That's the freezing rain that we get, right? So that's obviously a problematic thing for us as well. When we get the sleet, those are the ice pellets, and you have even more of a thin layer of warm air because it refreezes as it gets to the surface. And that's where we start to see things as all those mix together. It's tougher for traction. It builds up those sleet pellets. The traction is more difficult. Whereas snow, we kind of are used to how we have to deal with it. Obviously, it caused a lot of problems last time, but we understand what it does, and it almost provides a little more traction. When we get into the ice and stuff like that, not only does it make it more difficult to figure out how much is going to develop just because of that warm layer of air, how much is going to fall, but it's not very traction friendly, and it's tougher for the road crews to treat. And you talk to most of the MoDOT and IDOT guys and gals, and they'll say they don't want to mess with ice, they want to mess with snow more than anything. So, Brenda, I think a rough guesstimate for accumulation, if I'm going to bet on something here at this point, would be, I would say roughly, let's call it on average, in the 3-inch range. And the reason I say that it's tough for me to say right now, from a certain perspective, is the fact that look at just this right here on Wednesday at 7 o'clock. And I'll point this out. There are going to be spots to our northwest and on the, I don't want to say fringe of our viewing area because everything is the same, but let's talk about the very edges of our viewing area to the north and very edges to the south. These spots are going to get so much more snow. This could be a 6+ inch type deal here. Whereas in the St. Louis area, right around 44 up to 70, you may only get, let's say, 2 inches or less if we start to see more freezing rain. This could be a combination before it switches over and then moves out, right? Whereas further to the south, you may get rain, freezing rain, and then it transitions. So that's where I think we're at right now. I think I still am very concerned about how big this is just by looking at these two particular models. And look at both of them here as I just flash this back and forth at 3 o'clock. This is a little bit bigger. This is a pretty good snow belt, and that's setting up at a pretty good pace. Let me flip it to 2, right? And as I zoom this in a little bit, it's a little bit more thin, and we're still more on the snow side. So that's still starting to figure itself out. And I think Rochelle asked if it's moving due east. It is moving due east. Corey, it's not out of the question that we could get all snow, and I think that's still in play here. This system is still not moved into the United States, and once it does, it's going to start to hit more of these measuring devices, and we're going to get the pressure and temperature and all those good things that go into these models and give us an idea of where it's going to move. So I'm more hesitant to talk about that Wednesday one in specifics versus the Tuesday one. The Tuesday one seems to be shored up. Everything's settling in. I do think we're going to get snow, but it's just not going to be quite as much. So let's see. When I put this on a full screen, I'm going to go to the computer and I'm going to check to see if anybody has questions on the chat line. Once again, I didn't put that on my laptop next to me. I will next time. We're just doing it on the fly here, as we so often do. Let me check to see if we have any messages here in the chat line, and let's see what's happening there. It's loading, of course. It's loading. It's loading. It's loading. That's the way this always works, right? It's gotta be the longest possible thing ever, just because I guess our internet's slow. So we'll let that load and see if I have any more questions. Brenda says, mixing with sleet and snow, I will be off. I will be off, but I do have to drive myself to work. I may make my husband drive me. Not a bad idea. And I think that's, if, of the 2 days, people that got flights Tuesday or Wednesday, if the 2 days, I think Wednesday could be the more problematic. It doesn't mean that it will be, because we might be okay, but I think it's colder. Let me see if this loaded. Of course it did not. And I'll try to answer those questions. For some reason, that does not want to load, which is okay. So if you've asked me a question on the chat line, this computer does not like me, and that's okay. That's trying. I think it's trying now. All right, it's loading now. Let's see. Will we get snow in Florissant, Missouri on Wednesday? I believe that you will get snow, and you might get sleet and freezing rain as well. So those are two things that I can answer for you right now. That was one of the few questions from the chat line. So actually, they asked that earlier. So one of the things there. So let me see. Will it be cleared up by Thursday? Yes, I do think it will be cleared up by Thursday. Brandy asked that as well. Lynn said that I'm a school bus driver. Looks like a snow day coming. If I'm going to pick one of the 2 days, if I'm going to pick one between Tuesday or Wednesday, it would be Wednesday. And I'm not guaranteeing that, because as you know, we don't make those calls, but I think there will definitely be more delays or cancellations on Wednesday than there will be on Tuesday. Very, very minimal amount on Tuesday. Wednesday, there may be a few more, just because of the way things are setting up for me right now. Brandy asked if it'll be cleared up by Thursday. I do think it's going to be cleared up in a sense that the snow and sleet is out of there pretty quickly for Thursday. And I think overall, things will get back to normal a little sooner. And the reason I think that we're going to get back to normal a little sooner is because as I look at this 10-day forecast, we're not stuck into the deep freeze for a while after. So thanks for your questions. Overall, we're down to about 100 on the stream here, and you can always check this on 5+ as well. But I think I've answered most of your questions, and I'm going to let this sit, and I will let this sit on the 10-day forecast as I end the stream, but I will have updates for you online and between now and then. So have a good day, and we will talk to you later.